guys. Come on back.
Gotta get some work done.
Okay. How are you doing?
Nothing like a camera.
Yeah, nothing like a camera on your face today. That's all right.
Just a little bit in my low back,
Okay.
which is unusual on the right side.
Okay.
I deadlifted yesterday, and I don't know if I kind of tweaked something or not. And then when I kind of like bend forward, I feel it more in like my left hamstring.
Okay. You have any videos of your deadlifts at all?
I don't from yesterday.
Okay, that's all right. Let me see you do a bodyweight squat for me. Do it from the side and the front here. One more. Okay. Try to face me one more time.
Is it better if I take these shoes off?
Oh, that's okay. That's all right. Okay. So a couple of things I'm looking for. So typically how I look at the low back, especially when you're talking about weightlifters, you want to look at the lower extremities, specifically looking really all the way from the feet all the way up. Can you see if they're using their hips properly? Are they bracing their core properly? Do they have a proper hip hinge where they're using their hips first, or are they leading with the quads? She does a great job leading from the hips first, but very, very small thing is her right foot wants to toe out a little bit more than that than the left side, just from her natural standpoint. So it looks to me then, usually that means that her hip internal rotation is a little limited on that side, and her body's trying to find that extra range of motion by toeing out a little bit more, which then is going to put more stress on the QL, especially in a deadlift or in a deep squat position as well. Then Alan's been had a few times with his leg press issues, so definitely we'll take a look into that, either stability or mobility.
Sucks.
So let me see you stand on one leg for me. And just a little baby half squat there. Okay, great control on that left side. Check out your right side there. Okay, a little less control. I don't know if you notice your pelvis starting to want to tilt a little bit. That's that glute medius on that side. And a little rocking in there. So yeah, just a little bit of instability. So something wasn't quite engaging correctly when you were pulling. So you just got to make sure when you're getting into position that you're also forcing your knees out slightly to get that hip external rotation, even as you're getting into your deadlift position. That way you're driving up through the heels and clenching the buttocks basically. That'll help kick on that glute medius a little bit more. So I want you to go ahead and take your shoes off too.
Yeah, when I was doing them yesterday, Alan was telling me, because I tend to, which I know is good to have control, but I tend to go a little bit slower on, even it's heavy, and I'm like,
on the concentric especially.
And he's like, let's, explode a little more, and so I think my body was just kind of like,
a little fatigued in different positions.
yeah.
So go ahead and stand back up. I don't want you to just stand how you normally would. Okay. So what we look for here, I'm going to kind of go over here as well. Very, very small thing as well. If you notice, her right foot is a little bit more collapsed than her left foot. So if I take my finger, try to place it underneath her navicular right here, I can't quite get to that first knuckle there where you're supposed to. In comparison, I get right underneath that, no problem. So, and you can see her ankles shifting inward. You can see that tendon on the front is kind of more angled than this one over here. So how we can minimize that issue, especially when you're getting into the deadlift position or squat position, is using the spiral chain of stability. So again, I want you to squeeze your buttocks and try to tear the earth apart with your toes. And see, go ahead and just go back here, relax your foot, everything, and then redo that there. See how it recreates that lift and the arch and stability pattern. So what it's going to do is it's going to activate your tib posterior, the lateral hamstring, the piriformis, and that glute medius, so you're a lot more stable in those SI joints. Okay? All right. How's the neck, shoulder, right side?
Just a little bit on the right,
Okay.
but overall not,
Not having that tension all the way down.
No, I
everything
haven't
there.
had that
Okay,
in the
cool.
last couple of weeks.
All right, let's see what's going on the rest of the little back here. Let's get you face down for me. All right. Bend your knees here. So again, basically what we look for when we're doing this to see how the pelvis is rotating or not. And the right side, as you can see, I have a hard time getting that right foot to get towards her hip there. And that's making sure seeing how your sacrum is rotating or not. But it makes a lot of sense why she's getting a lot of tenderness, especially in that right QL right there. Her sacrum's not rotating the way it's supposed to. So she's getting a lot of tenderness kind of right above that iliac crest right in there. I want to see how your glutes are functioning by themselves today. Hold that in the air. And then let me press down. Okay, good. Very good. Hold it there. Hold it, press down. All right, a lot better on that right side. So we're gonna check out in a different fashion. She's had this compensation before. Hold your leg like that. Don't let press down now. And then it shuts right off. In comparison, squeeze your foot. Don't let press down now. It works no problem. It's probably from that, mainly that foot collapse in there. When she's not activating that spiral chain, she ends up overusing her toe muscles right in here to try to grip the ground to stabilize, and it's shutting off her glute. Very similar issue that Alan was having the other day too. So the one thing that you always have to be kind of cautious about, they talk about, not everybody should point your toes out, you shouldn't do, all this type of stuff like that. Everybody's hip shapes are differently, so your glutes can be, really fired up with your toes straighter for one person and slightly turned out for another person. It's not necessarily that you have to toe out, it's can you create that tension with all of those muscles that are supposed to be engaged properly. So find a position that you can engage the most muscle mass out of that, and that's where your toes should be basically pointed out at.
So it's more getting that really screwing the feet into the ground concept, and not really, because a lot of people will compensate and they just angle out more and more and more, and not getting anything else to fire.
Exactly. And it's the name of the game with any type of lifting, especially when you're trying to do bodybuilding or physique. You want to engage the muscle and make sure that it's engaged to the entire range of motion, not just on the concentric portion of the lift. You want to make sure it's through the entire eccentric and everything. Relax your foot, pull down here, and press back down. So it's called a spiral chain squat or a spiral chain deadlift, depending on which activity is causing you more of the issue. You can tailor it to it. We're gonna have, let's go this way. This side over here. This side a little bit. And you're gonna loop your right foot here, left foot here. Right foot here.
The opposite?
So right foot here.
Oh.
Yep. Left foot here. So you want to find a position where you have just a little bit of tension on both of the feet. So what it's trying to do right now is it's trying to pull her into that bad foot position, that pronated position. Okay. So I want you to make sure that you can create that active foot by that spiral chain there. All right. Now, if you can take a close look here, as soon as she relaxes, everything starts to roll back in. So this is going to make sure that she's using her feet actively and her hips actively to be able to screw her feet in and have that proper position. Okay. So I'm going to have you do 10 nice, just slow body weight pause squats, basically. Make sure you don't let the feet collapse. Go ahead and squat down. Maintain that position, pause, and back up. Good. Go ahead. Good. Back up. Now, a lot of people tend to try to use like a slingshot to warm up for hips for the squatting, which isn't a bad thing, but sometimes people just focus on so much of the lateral portion of it, they forget about the actual extreme portion, basically. So you need active hips and active feet to maintain a proper kinetic chain.
So you mean the girls walking around with little bands around their knees at 24/7 doesn't work?
Yeah.
That kills me.
Can we get some thumbs down for that one?
Literally walk around the gym with the band around just above the knee.
Yep.
I'm like, what? You're causing dysfunction doing that.
Mm-hmm. Great. How's it feel on the hips there, Amy?
Good.
You can actually feel the lateral hamstring and the glute engaging a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's the one thing is a lot of people forget about being able to get the hamstring to engage a lot with the squat.
Mm-hmm.
When you're setting up in your position, you want to make sure that you're trying to flare. So a lot of your bodybuilders, you think about how you try to get that adductor splay and everything and the quad splay. It's the same idea you're trying to do. Maintain that tension throughout the whole range of motion. Two things are going to happen. One, you're going to involve a lot more muscle, and then two, you're going to develop a lot more muscle as well. You're going to get that width that you're trying to look, especially on stage.
That was my issue. Like I'm so quad dominant
Yeah.
that I have that issue when I squat is engaging that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is a good way to start to reverse that process a little bit. Make sure you keep that neutral spine so you're not arching your back
Yeah.
to try to protect. You're trying to use your glutes, your core, and your lats to protect the lower back, not hyperextending the lower back.
Yeah, this is something I've never seen.
So,
I've seen around the knee area, like opposing bands attached to above the knee. I've done that, but I've never done the foot. That's Interesting.
A little different way, just like
I like that though.
thinking, just using the thinking from the again ground up variation.
How much tension do you think you need? I mean, just light
Oh,
tension.
yeah, that's like, I mean, that's probably only 5 or 10 pounds tops. I mean, you don't really need a whole lot of tension on it. It's just enough that you can feel
it.
that
Oh.
foot collapse and trying to prevent that a little bit. So, all right.
Cool.